What's up, everyone? It's Brian from the Exact IT Solutions YouTube channel. Welcome to the channel where we give you all the news about cybersecurity and how to protect yourself from those crazy criminal hackers out there that like to put ransomware on everybody's computer and steal all your money. So today we're going to talk about 3 ransomware attacks, maybe 4. We're going to talk about some trends with some hacks for 2020, some information that we can see, and some information about how many companies actually get their data back after they pay the ransom, which is pretty staggering in itself. Because I think a lot of companies think if you pay the ransom, you automatically get your data back. But there's cases where that doesn't happen. I'm going to let you know what those are. And then there's something besides ransomware that you need to be worried about that I'm going to cover at the end of this video. So stick with me till the end. It won't be too long, but we're going to get into it. And here's what we're going to get into today. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about today is Compucom. And by the way, if you like anything in my video today, please hit the like button. It helps other people find this stuff. When other people can find this stuff, they get educated just like you. This isn't about me. This is about helping other people understand what goes on with ransomware and cyber attacks and breaking it down to a level that pretty much everybody understands. This is not a technical channel. Go check out my buddy John Hammond's channel if you want to learn how to hack and stuff like that. We don't do that here. Although we can hack you, we just break it down for you and explain things to you at a level that most people, I hope, will understand. If not, throw it in the comments and tell me I'm an idiot and tell me that I'm talking too much tech and you don't understand it. Or if you don't understand something, put it in the comments and I'll explain it to you. So here we go. Compucom. This is actually one of my competitors, quite frankly. They go up against us. They do managed IT services. I think they do cybersecurity too. They got hit with ransomware about 3 weeks ago-ish, sometime in early March, I think it was. They have locations all over the United States. They actually have one in our neck of the woods around the Philadelphia area. And it goes in to say that they have racked up $20 million in losses in this point. So Compucom ransomware attack will cause the MSP to lose more than $20 million. The attack took down many of its systems. So on March 3rd, Compucom reported a malware that infected some of the services it provides to certain customers. The company says it was able to restore delivery of those services again by March 17th. That's 2 weeks, 14 days that they were down. Compucom is an Office Depot company. It outlined the cost to Compucom due to a ransomware attack. So obviously Office Depot is a publicly traded company and they have to disclose when they have costs that they weren't expected that caused them to not make as much money that quarter. So in the statement, it reads, while Compucom has made significant progress in remediating its systems related to the malware incident, ODP, meaning Office Depot, nonetheless expects the downtime experience and related impact due to the malware incident to result in a loss of revenue for the month of March, as well as incurred and accrued costs, which will adversely impact the company's financial results for the first fiscal quarter of 2021. The company estimates the loss of revenue to be between $5 million and $8 million as a result of the incident, primarily because of Compucom's need to temporarily suspend certain services to certain customers. In addition, Compucom expects to incur up to $20 million in expenses, with about $10 million accrued through the first quarter of 2021. So basically what this means is they signed a contract with a bunch of companies that said we're going to deliver X, Y, and Z services, and they were unable to deliver those services. And when that happens, they're in breach. And when they're in breach, they kind of have to let the company out of the contract and let them go find another IT provider, which quite frankly, if your IT provider is getting hacked with ransomware, you probably want to find a new IT company. Um, Again, this goes on to state that these expense estimates are primarily related to Compucom's efforts to restore service delivery to impacted customers and to address certain other matters resulting from the incident. The company carries insurance, including cyber insurance, which it believes to be commensurate with its size and nature of its operations, and expects that a portion of these costs may be covered by insurance. That depends, right? That depends on whether or not they followed things correctly. I talk about this stuff all the time on this channel. You can have cyber insurance out the gills. If you don't do what's required of you inside of your cyber insurance policy, you won't get paid when something like this happens. We provide a service here at Exact IT to make sure that all of our clients can get paid should they have a ransomware event. We make sure all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted so that in the event that they want to exercise their right to use insurance in the event that they have a breach or a malware attack, they can do that and they will get paid because we've done the compliance side of things for them. So Compucom would not provide further comment on the attack. So that just goes into, this loss, this huge $20 million loss. Companies out there, if you're watching this channel and you own a company or you run a company or you're part of management team in a company, if you don't think that this will be you one day, it will. So if you're not doing anything or if you're not fully engaged in what your cybersecurity plan is and what it looks like and how it's being handled and who's handling it and who's responsible for your cybersecurity plan, you're going to be attacked and you're going to find yourself in the same shoes as Compucom. This also illustrates that not all IT companies are created equal. Yes, Compucom is a big company. Yes, they are owned by Office Depot. And yes, they have millions and millions of dollars and a lot of resources to dedicate to doing cybersecurity the right way. However, as you can see, a lot of MSPs will say that they do cybersecurity, but they really don't, or they don't understand what it really means when they kind of brand their company with that or put it on their website as a service that they do as part of their MSP. A lot of MSPs fall short in this area and they are leaving your business at risk. So unless you're doing an independent third-party audit on your business from somebody who's not your IT company, like if you call in a company like us who will audit your current IT to determine how well they're doing for you and provide you with the evidence and reports that you need to see that things are being taken care of or they're not. Or a simpler way, without getting a third party involved, is how often are these computer companies, these IT companies, or these MSPs meeting with you to talk to you about what they're doing in terms of security and reassuring you that your IT is protected. If that conversation isn't happening on maybe a quarterly basis, at a minimum, if you're doing, anything over $1 million a year, you should be meeting with your IT company at least quarterly, and they should be reassuring you that this stuff is getting done. And the higher your revenue, the more you should be meeting with them. Some companies you might need to meet with, your IT person once a week or every other week or once a month. It really depends on your revenue level, your risk, your compliance needs, and what you need to follow in terms of a cybersecurity plan or framework in order to keep your business and your assets protected. Moving right along, this Fat Face company, I'd never heard of them, but I just thought this was an interesting take on a ransomware attack. So they were, this is in pounds because it's a British write-up, but ransomware cyber hackers who put customer and employee details at risk in attack triggered by a dodgy email. Number one, as I always like to highlight, they always say, and there's an insurance company right now who's under attack who's saying the same thing. Sophisticated criminal attack against a clothing retailer, Fat Face, which put employee bank details and national insurance numbers and the personal details of customers at risk, was caused by a staff member clicking on a dodgy email. It has been reported. So this really, at the end of the day, is not a sophisticated criminal attack. I'm really kind of annoyed by the fact that these companies come out and say these are sophisticated criminal attacks. We usually find out that they're not. They're just poorly trained staff members who don't know how to handle simple things like shady emails, shady websites, shady links that they're sent. And instead of giving pause and maybe getting a second set of eyes to look at whether they should do something with that email, they just click on it. Oh, let me click on it, see what happens. Yeah, here's what happens. You get ransomware. The chain was forced to pay out 1.45 million pounds. I think that's roughly $2 million. After it was hit, 2 million US, after it was hit by a malware attack in mid-January, which locked it out of its systems and harvested over 200 gigs of data. They initially asked for 8 million, around 5.8 million pounds, but the price was talked down after the 200-store chain argued its sales had slumped by as much as 75% due to the coronavirus pandemic shutting its shop. So basically, they came at them hard with $8 million ransom demand, and they cried mercy and said, oh, we don't have that much money. You know, our sales are hurt from coronavirus. And as I explained in other videos on this channel, that I highly encourage you to go back and watch and make sure you hit the like button on. But go back and watch these videos and watch how I talk about the fact that you can negotiate ransom demands, and these hackers do research on the companies that they hit before they hit them and understand what their revenue levels are and understand how much, you know, too much money is to ask of this company. And you know, at the end of the day, these guys want to get paid. So they've learned, like, this is how much we can ask based on the top line revenue that we know that this company makes. And they're very successful with the numbers that they have. I mean, you know, I always knew from my government days that you always went in on your budget and you asked for twice of what you needed because you knew you weren't going to get that, right? And that's exactly what these guys are doing. They're asking for 8 million, knowing they're not going to get 8 million, but maybe they can get 2 or 3. The other thing too is like a lot of times they get paid and then they turn around halfway through the restoration process and they say, hey, we need another million. And that happens too, where they come back and they say, oh, you paid us 2, but we really need 3. We're not going to continue unless you give us another million. That absolutely 100% does happen, and that tactic is increasing even more. They want to see how much more they can squeeze before they really have no more leverage. The article just goes on to say that the report did not say when the ransom was paid, but the software attack took place on the 17th of January. The same day, Fatface told customers and past and present employees last week it had identified some suspicious activity within its IT systems. Computer Weekly reports that it was compromised a week earlier, and we don't know. But I just wanted to point this one out because it's a good illustration of the things that are pet peeves for me, which are, you know, the term sophisticated criminal attack when it's a stupid, you know, phishing email that somebody clicked on that they weren't, you know, it's not the employee's fault. It's Fatface's fault for not providing good enough cyber awareness training to their employees so that security's top of mind. And when they get a shady looking email, they know that they shouldn't click on that right away. So moving right along, Sierra Wireless hit. They are recovering from ransomware. The big IoT chip maker provider. They make a lot of cell phones and a lot of IoT devices, especially in the like corporate world, where we're talking about like HVAC systems and things like that, things that get tied on to monitoring and allowing those systems to communicate with the outside world. They are the world's leading IoT solution provider. Today announced that the company has resumed production and started to recover its internal systems following a ransomware attack on its internal IT systems and corporate website. As announced on March 23, 2021, Sierra Wireless was the subject of a ransomware attack on its internal IT systems and corporate website, and temporarily halted production at its manufacturing sites. the company had resumed production and started to recover its internal systems. Once the company learned of the attack, its IT and operations teams immediately implemented measures to counter the attack. In addition, within hours of discovery, Sierra Wireless engaged Blake, Castles, and Graydon LLP, one of the leading cybersecurity law firms, as breach coach and legal counsel, and KPMG, one of the world's leading forensic investigation and cyber incident response firms, to lead Sierra Wireless's response and investigation into the incident. The Sierra Wireless team, with the assistance of additional third-party advisors, believe that they have addressed the attack and are currently working to restore Sierra Wireless internal IT systems. And they continue to investigate the incident and the extent of impact on the company's internal IT systems. So this just goes on to say, with a lot of fluff, that security is a top priority for Sierra Wireless, and Sierra Wireless maintains a clear separation between its IT systems and its customer-facing products and services. So they don't believe that the chip or the device that you bought did get hacked, but we don't know that yet. Again, it's too early to tell. They still have the forensic investigation going on. And quite frankly, when an IT company like this gets hit, you have to be concerned that they're putting products out into the marketplace that have been compromised. So we just want to make that clear. Just along with the last article that said a sophisticated IT attack really wasn't a sophisticated IT attack. Them saying that their IoT devices have not been compromised that they know of is a little bit premature, although there may be validity behind that. I wouldn't come out and say anything. I would just say we're investigating, and we'll let everyone know. To come out and kind of say, well, none of our products have been compromised, it's too early to tell. And that's a lesson that a lot of companies need to learn. Just keep your mouth shut until you actually know, and the forensic people have done their work. Let KPMG be the ones that come out and tell everyone that they've done their due diligence, they've looked into this, and they're sure that Sierra Wireless doesn't have any compromised products or software out there. Coming from the company doesn't hold a lot of stock when you were the ones who got attacked in the first place. Ransomware halts IoT operations at Sierra Wireless. This article goes on to take this a little bit in more detail. But the other interesting thing on this one is, as maritime industry is hit with 1.5 million times in 30 days. And then this is interesting because, it's saying maritime IT under scrutiny. And I just want to point this out real quick. SubX and Skylab have teamed up to secure the shipping industry. The shipping industry is under major attack right now by hackers, where these hackers are figuring out how to get into ship systems, offshore and onshore maritime assets, and communication channels in the shipping infrastructure. So this is a big deal. I mean, we saw what one ship in the Suez Canal plugging that up causes. Imagine if somebody's able to take down a fleet of ships because of this. So I just wanted to point this out, that it's not just businesses with physical buildings that are under attack. It's ships on the water that can also be under attack as well. According to the SubX research, shipping companies around the globe were attacked almost 1.5 million times in just the last 30 days. Of these, more than 64,000 attacks were described as highly sophisticated and carried out using complex malware and breach tactics. Social engineering, deception, and traffic manipulation were all used to create breaches and enable intrusion into core and peripheral infrastructure. So, it's really, everybody has to be mindful of how much stuff is out there that's connected, right? We're talking about, sensors in the ocean, buoys, and things like that, they have devices on them. And those devices, if they have a vulnerability in them, they can be attacked. And you might have access to a ship who then is within the beacon of that wireless signal or device. And, a hacker could be on a ship scanning for this stuff and using his tools to further his attacks. I mean, this stuff is happening. It's real. It's alive, and it's moving. And I just wanted to point this out very quickly so you see what this is looking like from all different aspects. Not just, I have a business, I'm in a building, and people are trying to attack it. People are trying to attack your cell phones. People are trying to attack your devices all over your house, your TVs. Everything is under attack if it's connected to the internet. And think about that. Think about all the things connected to the internet, all the medical devices, all the security devices, all the access devices at your bank. All of it's connected to the internet in some way, shape, or form. Can a hacker get to it and exploit it? That remains to be seen, and we'll find out over the next 5 years or so how easy this is and how prevalent these attacks are and how many devices are susceptible to this. And the reason I want to talk about that is because I lead right into this one. More files were hacked in 2020 than the previous 15 years combined. I'm not even going to dive into the article. We're just going to look at the headline. More files were hacked in 2020 than the previous 15 years combined. So you got 15 years of time of computing, of all this stuff, and more files were put in the hands of people who shouldn't have had their hands on them in 2020 than all 15 years put together. So, interesting stuff, and not any news to anybody who follows this channel. And if you're following me up to this point, make sure you hit the subscribe button and like our video. Last one we're going to talk about today, fileless malware attack surge while ransomware declines. Whoa, ransomware decline. Well, ransomware didn't really decline, right? Ransomware is still on the uptrend. But we have something that's kind of sneaking in behind it that's going up a little bit quicker on the curve than what we're seeing with ransomware. And this new fileless malware attack is up 900% in 2020, and crypto miners grew by 25%. Ransomware payloads dropped by 48% compared to 2019. That's how many times people tried to attack. Now, put this in perspective. Ransomware gangs are primarily targeting, they're more targeted attacks towards companies that they know who they're going after, and they're very direct, so they're dropping the payloads on companies that they know. Back in the day, they used to drop payloads on everybody, like including like regular one-person computers. Think about your 70-year-old grandmother. And then, somebody gets ransomware on that system and they get alert, a ransomware deployed on this system, and they get in there and they look and they go, it's some lady's computer that has nothing, and she isn't ever going to pay any kind of money to get any of this back, and it's not worth it. So the tactics change from just, mass blowing out ransomware links to try to infect as many people as they can, to more targeted types of attacks that when they get the ransomware on there and they encrypt massive amounts of data, they can get paid millions and millions of dollars from these companies. Those tactics are what is being used today and what you can expect to see out there. If you're expecting to see ransomware not decrease, you're just not thinking about this correctly. Ransomware is going to decrease based on how they're delivering it. It's more surgical. It's to the right people who are going to pay the right price, less to the people who are not going to pay. So there's less being deployed in that manner. What they will do, though, is they will put things like crypto miners on your grandmom's system. So when grandmom's not using the computer, she doesn't notice anything because the software is written in a way where it's like, if somebody's using this computer, if the mouse is moving and the keyboard's moving, put the crypto miner on pause. But when nobody's using the computer and it's sitting there running, run my crypto miner, right? And that crypto miner is using your electricity, your computing power to generate money and send that money to some hacker's Bitcoin wallet or whatever wallet he has set up for this crypto miner to go mining on your system. But you're losing money. Your computer is running at a higher rate of speed. It's using more power. Typically, these crypto miners will max out the power on the system depending on what kind of crypto miner it is. So, you might have an 800 or 1,000 watt power supply in your computer, and you might use 100, maybe 150 watts of power. A crypto miner will get on there and it'll use whatever it has available. So if it has 1,000 watts, it'll use all 1,000 watts. And then your computer is constantly running at 1,000 watts the whole entire time, and you're paying for that electricity. And the malware, the criminal, all they had to do was get this software onto your computer, and they're making money. Sure, it's a little tiny bit of money, but if I can get that on 20 computers, now I got 20 computers that I'm not paying a dime for, and I'm not paying for the electricity, but I'm reaping all the benefits of the mining software and getting the cryptocurrency that comes along with mining that crypto, crypto finance money. I don't even know the right words, but that's what it is. So this article just goes into the rise in sophisticated evasive threat tactics last quarter and throughout 2020, showcases how vital it is to implement layered end-to-end security protections. If you want to know how to implement layered end-to-end security protections, I'm doing a video series right now that we release every Thursday. We put out a new video. There's going to be 25 videos in total. And when that whole video series is done being released, we are in week 2 right now. Video number 2 is going to hit in 2 days on Thursday. Once we put all 25 videos out, that is going to be the layered end-to-end security protection information that you need to protect your business. It's all going to be there, all for you, all for free. You can learn how to do this. You can try to implement it yourself, or you can realize, maybe I want to hire a professional to do this because I don't really have the skills to do this the way that it probably should be done. Going further, the attacks are coming on all fronts as cyber criminals increasingly leverage fileless malware, crypto miners, encrypted attacks, and more, and target users both at remote locations as well as corporate assets behind the traditional network perimeter. Effective security today means prioritizing endpoint detection and response, network defenses, and foundational precautions such as security awareness training and strict patch management. So it goes to all the things that we talk about on this channel all the time. But what this really, really, really hits on is basically you need to make sure that you're doing everything possible, because there's a lot of things going on that they talk about in this article, like this one here, malware being delivered via HTTPS connections. And I just want to point this out because it's important. Typically, malware has been delivered without HTTPS, meaning it wasn't encrypted and we could see what it was and we could see it coming over the wire. And devices like firewalls and endpoint protection things can grab it and say, nope, this is bad. This is not coming on my network. Pull it out, and it doesn't get to the end user and cause a problem. The problem is that when HTTPS becomes involved, meaning the hacker is using encryption to get it into your network, your firewall's typically going to let that right through unless it was configured properly to inspect HTTPS traffic. So unless it has a way to open that up, see what it is, and say, oh, this is bad, this isn't coming through, I'm blocking it, it's going to let it through in most cases unless you're not allowing that type of traffic through, which you wouldn't be able to get to any secure website if that were the case. So there's a couple of different ways you can handle this, but it's important to know that this is becoming way more popular. It's increased by 41%. It was a method that hackers never used in the past that we're starting to see being used more and more and more and more every day. They deliver it via HTTPS with the thought that it's going to get through the firewall and it's going to get through the endpoint protection because you're not inspecting this traffic because it's encrypted. So the assumption is that since it's encrypted, we really can't look at it anyway unless we have a way to open it up and look at it. So you can do this at the firewall level. You can do this on the computer level with endpoint software where it opens up the file, the information, the data before it actually gets presented to the user. And then that software or the firewall can then say, nope, I don't like this. I'm not letting it in. I'm blocking it or whatever. And, that's how. So these HTTPS delivered malware things are increasing, and they are increasing for encrypted 0-day malware, and that grew by 22% over Q3. So like 0-day malware, you want to get that out quickly because there's something out in the wild that hasn't been patched yet that we know about, or there's a pretty good chance that a lot of people haven't gotten to patching it yet. And while we can update security software to say, hey, look for this stuff, if you're sending it through the network encrypted, there's a better chance that as a hacker, you're going to have getting that onto the system if you can get it through because of encryption. So if you run a business, if you own an IT company and you're like, I don't know what the hell he's talking about right now, go ask your IT person, do we scan for malware over HTTPS? And if the answer is no, or they don't know, you're probably not doing it. So look into implementing something where it's looking at this, because you don't want to be that company that goes, oh, this is a sophisticated attack. Well, no, it wasn't a sophisticated attack. You just were blindly letting this traffic come in and out of your network without inspecting it, and that was the problem. So this will allow you to take a look at what's inside of those encrypted packets and that encrypted data, and just look at it to see if they're trying to deliver some kind of malware or payload through your HTTPS channel. If you can open that up and look at it and then block it, that's better, because most things are configured to allow this stuff through and it never gets looked at. That's kind of the default way. And I would venture to say that 98% of the devices and computers and firewalls and whatever else is out there that looks at this stuff is configured to handle this type of traffic in this way. The assumption always was that HTTPS traffic was good because hackers weren't really using HTTPS to deliver malware. They've gotten smarter. They've realized that, hey, if we just put this on a server and send it, a server that has a security certificate on it, and send it to the client in HTTPS, a lot of their firewalls and antiviruses aren't picking this stuff up, and then that's when you have this trouble. So I wanted to point this out. It's very important. We're going to wrap up the show for today with this. Please make sure you're scanning your HTTPS traffic. Make sure you're getting a good look at that before it's presented to the computer. It will stop a lot of malware attacks and a lot of bad things from happening. So get with it, get in tune to it, get this done. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments below. I'd love to answer them for you. And if you are this far into my video, I thank you. Hit the like button. And hopefully you learned something today, and maybe you'll consider subscribing to our channel. I'll see you all next week. Take care, everyone. Check out our video on Thursday. Bye.